I'm Basil Scher, Projects Manager with not-for-profit group Green Skills, based in Denmark on the south coast of Western Australia. In this presentation I talk about the eco-restoration programs that form part of the Gondwana Link program, especially focusing on that area between the Stirling Ranges and the Mount Lindesay National Park. Green Skills has been one of the core members of Gondwana Link for about 10 years. We have focused with working with farmers in the Cranbrook Mount Barker area in particular, and it's been a special focus on how we can protect and connect the biodiversity, the bush, with its wildlife across this agricultural sector of Gondwana Link. The forest to Stirlings section of Gondwana Link forms a small part of the overall country covered by Gondwana Link, which stretches all the way from Margaret River to the Great Western Woodlands. This part of Gondwana Link, where Green Skills is working, has got a conservation action plan, as do other areas serviced by community groups across that region. This aerial perspective is from east of the Stirling Ranges and shows a typical property purchased by Greening Australia and Bush Heritage Australia, which indicates bushland as well as extensive areas that have been planted back to native flora. What one can see in this picture is how the chain of remnant vegetation across the agricultural landscape allows for a longer term planning for conservation to connect and to heal the landscape across this section of Gondwana Link. The next aerial image shows Eddie and Donna Wagen's Balijup property next to the Stirling Range National Park, and again it's been the focus of intensive efforts to help bring back wildlife as well as conserve what's there. The conservation work that is undertaken in Gondwana Link is based on the best available science. This next slide shows a map showing how the areas east and west of the Stirling Range National Park are globally significant in terms of the diversity of native plants and rare species. Prior to doing detailed on-ground works, we worked with a range of landholders and local natural resource management groups and industry groups to develop a plan. This image shows the cover of this report, a conservation plan which aims to connect people and nature and bring back and conserve the globally significant biodiversity of this region. This next slide shows pictures of some of the on-ground works, including fencing of remnant forest, rehabilitation of wetlands and protection of these wetlands from grazing by agricultural animals such as cattle and sheep, and also working with farmers to develop alternative land uses such as agroforestry. We work with aerial photography and on-ground planning with landholders to plan a vision for what works we can support over the long term. So this next image shows a farm plan, an aerial photograph showing the remnants that need to be protected and connected, and showing our staff working with farmers to do this. Some of the images of on-ground projects, fencing and planting, fencing of lakes and bushland, all about protecting what's there and allowing wildlife again to move more freely across the landscape. Specific farmers proved to be great allies and partners for the collaborative projects. Here we have Graeme, Bradshaw and Rhonda Carnegie shown on their farm, Broadacre Farm near Cranbrook, and over the years they've been very innovative in planning a range of revegetation and land use changes. Another example of a cooperating farming family is Doug and Eva Russell, who have farmed near Manypeaks and Bremer. They've undertaken an extensive array of conservation and biodiversity restoration work within a whole farm planning context, and these pictures show some of those activities and what the farms look like from the air. Here on a farm near Young Siding, John and Cathy Shapland have protected the remnant vegetation wetlands on their property. A key ongoing need on their farm is weed control on the wetlands and bushland to ensure the ongoing viability of the protected bushland in the long-term future. What we've learned from working with farmers is that it's important for community groups to stay in for the long haul, to fit the wetlands planning into the farming systems in which they are embedded. It's vital to show flexibility to what the landholder needs, and a key part is to access financial and logistical support for projects. We also need to listen and provide information and encouragement, and to further grow partnerships into monitoring, promotion and education. Here's another project from the West Kendanup area showing the Margaret wetland restoration projects, and these pictures show different aspects of the work needed to bring this lake back. Part of the research and science behind improving the work of community groups in Gondwana Link is developing a way of prioritizing ecological restoration at the farmer or property level. And so this shows the cover of a report which outlines such a methodology to help make sure that the limited funds available are used to best possible purpose. One of the critical challenges facing community groups and landholders in the Gondwana Link area is the loss of the smaller range marsupials and other mammals across the region. So here we have pictures of the brush wallaby, the numbat, the woylie, the echidna, and the phascogale. These are species that have become much rarer, particularly in agricultural areas due to predation by foxes and cats and loss of habitat. A further range of mammals whose numbers have reduced include the bandicoot, southern brown bandicoot, the brush-tailed possum, the ring-tailed possum, and the tamar wallaby. There are programs now through controlling fox and cat numbers that aim to bring back these mammals to areas where they once existed. One of the practical measures that community groups and farmers can take is the installation of wallaby-friendly gates into fencing to allow species such as the brush-tailed wallaby to move across the landscape in ways that they wouldn't otherwise have been able to. This next image shows an aerial photograph of a farm next to the Stirling Range National Park and a photograph of an installed wallaby gate. This has been monitored to show that wallabies do then pass through the fencing and are able to cross sections of agricultural land, allowing them to move across the landscape again. This next aerial photograph shows the planning for the installation of wallaby gates, allowing for movement across sections of farmland between remnant bushland. A photo showing a brush-tailed wallaby passing through a wallaby gate. We at Greenskills realized we needed to do more to bring back our endangered wildlife, so we started to research fauna enclosures. These are fenced areas from which foxes and cats have been eliminated. This picture shows a visit to the McCall fauna enclosure, a 40-hectare area near Margaret River that provided background information for Greenskills to do its own project. We also looked at the Department of Conservation's Potoroo enclosure fence near Manypeaks to get more technical information on how we could install a similar fence on private property to bring back wildlife onto areas that they previously existed. And the property we chose to install such a fauna sanctuary, a fenced fauna sanctuary, was Balijup Farm near Tenterden, owned by the Hordacre family. This shows an aerial photograph of this farm with its extensive areas of bushland and wetlands that ensured that it was suitable for the installation of a 110 hectare fence sanctuary. An aerial photograph of Balijup farm showing where we installed the fenced sanctuary, as well as the other fencing that was installed over the farm to protect the remnant bushland into the future. The project has involved working with the landholders to plan. We've had to do a lot of other preliminary work, including eradication of feral bees, fauna surveying, bird watching and wetland monitoring, to plan the best way to implement eco-restoration projects on the farm. Another aerial view of the Balijup farm, and in the far corner showing the area that was selected for the fenced sanctuary. Part of the research involved doing an assessment of what animals to reintroduce into the fenced sanctuary once foxes and cats were controlled, and to date, that is towards the end of 2017, populations of southern brown bandicoot, shown here, and brush-tailed possums have been reintroduced back into Balijup and are now well established. There are further species that we would like to consider reintroducing in the future. This here is the ring-tailed possum and tamar. This shows the work done at Balijup in preparing for the establishment of the fence, which meant in particular pruning and preparing a fire break either side of the proposed predator-proof fence. Greenskills worked with a private fencing contractor as well as the Balijup prison farm work camp team and volunteers to construct the 4.3 kilometre fence. This was completed by March 2015. Another image showing the work in progress for the establishment of the fence and associated crossing points over waterways. The fox and cat control at Balijup Sanctuary happened after the completion of the fence and involved a expert contractor putting out dry meat baits with 1080 poison. Subsequent monitoring showed that it appears that it was successful in eliminating foxes and cats from within the fenced area. The launch of the Balijup Fauna Sanctuary was held in May 2015. A local Member of Parliament opened the project for us and it was well attended. The next few images show the fauna translocation of the southern brown bandicoots. Here we have a team of volunteers coordinated by expert wildlife biologists going about setting traps and capturing bandicoots in the Albany area for translocation into the sanctuary. So this next slide shows the work involved in capturing and relocating the animals. Since then, Greenskills has undertaken an active program of monitoring and community education. We've established a network of 10 wildlife monitoring cameras to record the presence of both native wildlife, but also to detect if there's been any incursions of feral predators. And this photo shows one of the camera checking sessions. So the key aims of the Balijup project are to provide a vermin-free bushland enclosure, establish breeding colonies of Quenda and other fauna as part of a citizen science program that researches the role of soil digging mammals in the Australian forests, to establish Balijup as a centre for education and science, and to promote the Conservation Action Plan for this section of Gondwana Link. In the months and years since the opening of the sanctuary, we've held a regular program of wildlife trapping and monitoring, and these next images show that work in progress. Here a Quenda is caught in a trap. It'll be weighed and electronically tagged prior to release. These pictures show that process of measuring and assessing the health of the bandicoots in progress. And here is a Quenda being released back into the sanctuary. We have found that the numbers have slowly increased. We've also caught brush-tailed possums and re-released them, as shown in this picture. So the Balijup Fauna Sanctuary is proving to be a valuable addition to eco-restoration in this part of Gondwana Link, as well as a valuable facility for promoting education to the broader community. And that ends this presentation.